And it's not a ban. It's a temporary pause so that we can make this community safer.
We just heard from the sheriff. He joins the attorney general and others who say they won't enforce it. It's unconstitutional. Why do it if it can't be enforced?
Well, that's their opinion. They have no bold actions.
You know your state is being led by an imbecile when that's their opinion is the response your governor gives to people whose job it is to enforce laws, telling her that a law is unenforceable.
They don't have any plans for reducing gun violence. Every single aspect in terms of preventing gun violence, funds, crime labs, more than $150 million for retention, bonuses, and recruitment of new police officers. I'm focused on one thing. We have the third highest gun-related injuries in the country, 90% higher than the national average. We lost 143 children between 2017 and 2021. It is unacceptable, and it calls for immediate and swift and bold action.
Where is she getting these numbers from? Because according to her best friends at the incredibly anti-gun group Everytown, New Mexico has the 13th highest rate of gun homicides and gun assaults in the U.S. So New Mexico's not even in the top 10, and those are stats from an anti-gun group that endorsed her campaign. Not to mention, over 60% of gun deaths in New Mexico are self-deletions. How does banning the carrying of firearms prevent self-deletions? What is she gonna do next? Ban the ownership of guns altogether? She's also trying to use the death of children as justification for her unconstitutional order, and it's BS, and here's why. In New Mexico, an average of 27 children and teens die by guns every year, and 49% of these deaths are homicides. Thing is, in New Mexico, it's illegal for people under the age of 19 to possess or purchase a handgun. So her order banning the carrying of firearms does nothing to protect children or teens, because there was already a law in place saying anyone under the age of 19 can't even possess a gun.
Frankly, the evidence bears out over and over again. Fewer guns on the streets makes everyone safer, and I'm focused on everyone's constitutional rights, not just those the NRA says I should be focused on.
Except the Second Amendment is everyone's constitutional right. The Bill of Rights isn't a buffet menu where you can pick and choose which rights you want to protect and which ones you don't. It's all inclusive. So what she's saying here is nonsense. And please miss me with the outdated trope of blaming the NRA. The sheriff doesn't agree with you.
Criminals do not follow the law or a public health order. Is there a realistic way to enforce this order? No, there is not, because we'll cut that conversation off because it's unconstitutional. So there's no way we could enforce that order.
The Attorney General doesn't agree with you.
It is not going to be upheld as constitutional under close scrutiny.
Your state legislature doesn't agree with you.
You see Democrats, you see Republicans, you see independents saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. This is a total power grab, and it's an infringement on our constitutional rights.
In a tweet Monday, Democrat State Senator Joe Cervantes of Doña Ana County called on the governor to rescind her order, calling it unconstitutional.
The New Mexico people don't even agree with you.
They waved the American flag, held a number of signs, and displayed their own firearms. Many we spoke with say the governor's order to suspend the act of carrying a firearm in public is going against their constitutional rights.
Hell, this CNN host doesn't even agree with you.
It's not just the NRA.
So it's not just the NRA. Nobody agrees with you. You're just acting like a petulant child, drunk off of power.
Has any law enforcement officer in Albuquerque or the county actually enforced this yet?
Well, we haven't issued any civil penalties, but that doesn't mean that we're not and that we don't have the ability to do that.
But that's a no, right?
This is the pushback I get from every single, well, it's a no this minute, but that doesn't mean that we aren't, and it doesn't mean that we don't have additional police presence.
People, I want you to take a long, hard look, because this Hillary Clinton couture suit wearing J. Jill's piece and chain dangling governor is what a tyrant looks like. When she can't get her way, even though everyone is telling her this order is illegal and won't even try to enforce it, she stamps her heels and clutches her fist and says, I'm gonna do it anyway by any means necessary.
And if not this bold action, making sure that you're safe going to the grocery store, you're safe going to a baseball game, my question to law enforcement is, where are you? You are not safe going to work, getting your prescription drugs, or going to a public park. And it wasn't just about a cooling off period. It's about making sure that everyone is safer while we do bolder work to get at both the drug epidemic and the gun violence epidemic.
Ma'am, how is an order that even you said criminals won't follow going to keep people safe? This is the most backward way of thinking I've ever seen. She literally gives examples of criminals not following the current law, only to say she's passing this law to keep people safe, the same law she said criminals also won't follow. Someone make this make sense.
It's not for police to tell me what's constitutional or not. They haven't supported not one gun violence effort in the state of New Mexico, including domestic violence protections, universal background checks. And I know you want to ask me a question, so I'll take a breath, but these are NRA talking points about their rights and not about anybody else's. And it's not a ban. It's a temporary pause so that we can make this community safer.
I'm sorry, but this woman is a idiot. There is no pause button on the Bill of Rights, especially when you're trying to pause constitutional rights indefinitely. She keeps trying to use the NRA as a big bad boogeyman, and no one is buying it. These are not NRA talking points. It's the Constitution, dum-dum. You can't just deny rights because you feel some type of way. The Second Amendment was literally written because of politicians like you. Politicians who think they rule over people instead of represent them. Everyone around you is telling you you're wrong, and this is illegal, and you ignore it because this isn't about saving lives. This is about you wanting to get your way. Nothing more, nothing less. And for that reason alone, you don't deserve to be in office because, ma'am, you are a tyrant.
It's
but
disgusting.
We also have, Governor, the Constitution of New Mexico and the Constitution of the United States, and you're an attorney. Do you think you're on solid constitutional ground here?
Well, we're going to see. I mean, look, I wouldn't do it if I didn't think I had the right. I have the right.
Where is the right? Where is the right?
In the state of New Mexico. Public health, it's a suspension. It's not a ban. And we'll see what all of these court actions do. And
you know what's crazy? The right to bear arms in New Mexico's Constitution is technically broader than the damn Second Amendment in the U.S. Constitution. It reads, "No law shall abridge the right of the citizen to keep and bear arms for security and defense, for lawful hunting and recreational use, and for other lawful purposes, but nothing herein shall be held to permit the carrying of concealed weapons. No municipality or county shall regulate in any way an incident of the right to keep and bear arms." This woman could be an octopus, and she still wouldn't have a legal ground to stand on to justify her outlandish buffoonery of an order.
And I did say publicly, Poppy, look, I got a Supreme Court that says my personal bodily autonomy can be restricted, and yet NRA and other issues, the Second Amendment keeps getting broadened.
How are you gonna literally engage in the same hypocrisy that you're trying to claim other people are engaging in? If you believe abortion is a constitutional right that can't be restricted, how are you then now trying to ban another constitutional right in the Second Amendment that's actually enumerated in the Bill of Rights? This is clinical cognitive dissonance. And don't think I don't see the monumental irony of her complaining about not having the right to prevent a life while claiming she's restricting 2A rights in order to protect the life.
So the Bruin case in New York, right, that deals with concealed carry, and cases in Texas that say you can
Governor,
be
what I'm talking about. You bring up the Bruin case. The Supreme Court last year, let me just ask you this, because the Supreme Court last year totally changed what we're allowed to do, what you're allowed to do. And they said, unless you can base it in the history and tradition, you don't have grounds to do something like this.
Of course she has a problem with the Bruin decision, because it's the Supreme Court saying you can't deny people the right to a concealed carry permit simply because you don't think they are special enough. Any politician complaining about the Bruin decision is completely anti-Second Amendment. It is the most important case in our history that protects the right of people to carry a gun in public for their protection. And this woman is complaining about it when historically states have used subjective standards to prevent people from being able to carry a gun for their protection. And she's trying to use that as a justification of why she wants to restrict the right even further.
No municipality or county shall regulate in any way any incident of the right to keep and bear arms. Are you not in violation of both the U.S. Constitution and your state's Constitution?
I don't believe that we are. And if that narrow reading of the Constitution, which has been tested in the state, we wouldn't have universal background checks. We wouldn't have a waiting period. We wouldn't have a red flag law. We wouldn't have prohibitions for straw purchases. None of those would have been deemed constitutional. And today, all of them are.
They were before
These
the Supreme Court
absolute right
ruled
discussions. Fair, but they haven't been tested again.
I mean, there's nothing else to be said here. This is just a clown show at this point. Good on Poppy for actually calling her on this bullshit. Now, I guess CNN is trying to turn a corner. Or this governor is being so overtly radical that she is messing up the whole fake-ass perception of we just want reasonable gun laws. That said, pay attention to what she just said. They haven't been tested again. These anti-gun politicians know what they're doing, and they're doing it on purpose. They know these laws are unconstitutional, and they also know that the court system moves incredibly slow. So they'll just keep passing anti-gun laws after anti-gun law, no matter how unconstitutional, because they know it will take a while to work its way through the court system, and it's pretty disgusting.
If you're not going to stand up for these kids and really test as hard as you can, getting fewer guns and dealing with gun violence in a meaningful way, then you're basically saying that you won't be responsible to protect the citizens of the state. Well, I will, and I will do everything in my power to turn the tide and to make sure every New Mexican, particularly children, are safe.
You're not going to do shit. You're not going to go out in the streets and try to stop these crimes. You're not going to be the one out there trying to enforce an unconstitutional law. You're going to sit in your mansion with your armed security and do nothing but tell people they can't carry a gun to protect themselves. You're making it more dangerous for people, not less dangerous. You're not gonna tell your armed security that they can't carry guns. So all this pomp and circumstance about how you're gonna step up and do this and that, just sit down and shut up, because it's all BS.
To law-abiding citizens, gun owners in your state, I think they're wondering this morning, is this more about making a statement than about enforcing this?
Do you really think that criminals are going to hear this message and not carry a gun in Albuquerque on the streets for 30 days?
No.
You said no. Are you going to keep doing this? 30 days, take it up to the Supreme Court? Or is this about a statement right now?
No, listen, I can make any number of statements and already have. In 2007, I was very clear about where I stood in my initial congressional race about gun violence. So this is nothing new. But the rates of gun violence in my state, third worst in the nation, are absolutely unacceptable. And while I see that it is getting more challenging to find strategic efforts that keep everyone safe, that doesn't mean I shouldn't do them. And it's not the only thing in the order. It's about public places. It's about making sure we don't have guns at schools. It's about testing for fentanyl in wastewater at schools and other areas where I think that we have a growing problem.
She literally didn't answer the question. And she didn't answer the question because she knows the answer makes everything she's doing not only unconstitutional and dangerous, but incredibly stupid.
Are you overreaching? Let me give you a hypothetical, right? You're a Democratic governor who's doing this. What if a Republican governor of a state declares a health emergency and unilaterally outlaws abortion in that state, where the legislature has not done so by statute? Following your logic, would that also be sound?
In this situation, honestly, I don't think so. But that is what's happening in this country, is that we've got extremists on this question and on reproductive rights. And the issue about the emergency order, the difference here is I had an 11-year-old that was shot and killed with 17 rounds in a road rage. I got a call from a surgeon whose husband was killed in the exact same way in Albuquerque. Violence is growing. Every single investment and strategy, including a bold call to action, has failed. And here, this is about protecting everyone's rights. The Republican governor is about restricting some rights. I think we're going to see these challenges across the country. But I'm going to stand up for the children, and I'm going to stand up for public safety in Albuquerque.
Look, this woman is a cuckoo bird. The way she answered this last question should be studied as an example of how far some people will go to defend their cognitive dissonance. But she's not really that cuckoo. This is just the first time someone has actually challenged her on this, and her lawyer mind knows she's logically inconsistent, but her goal isn't legal consistency, it's control, and control by any means necessary. That's why she immediately went to the story of the 11-year-old to tug at your heartstrings, but has nothing to do with the legal inconsistency of her order. If a Republican did the exact same thing she's doing right now, but on abortion, she would be screaming just like this.
Don't discriminate against me and keep your hands off my body.
And to think, the shooting of the 11-year-old happened in cars. It wasn't even with people carrying guns on them in public. It was in a car. The funny thing is, regardless of your stance on abortion, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed is literally written in our Constitution verbatim, whereas any possible right to abortion has to be inferred from the Constitution, meaning she is objectively way more wrong than she is right. Just like Texas, I want to keep New Mexico tactical, along with the rest of the country. This is why I came out with the Keep America Tactical collection, like this hat and shirt that I have on right now. But the Keep America Tactical collection comes in every state. And for the next 3 days, I'm gonna give 15% off anyone who purchases a Keep America Tactical shirt, hat, drinkware, sticker, what have you, when you use the code KAT at checkout at shop.mrcolionnoir.com. So head over to shop.mrcolionnoir.com and take advantage of your 15% off of the Keep America Tactical collection. Right now, there's a culture war against the Second Amendment, which is why I need your help spreading our message to counter their message. You can help do this by leaving a comment, sharing this video, and click the bell and subscribe button. Let my voice be your voice, and let them know you want to keep America tactical, because the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed wasn't a suggestion, it was a directive. Also, if you're wondering where to purchase your AR-15s are essential, I will not comply. I am the militia, the new Draco design, and your state-specific Keep America Tactical shirt. Click the link under the Keep America Tactical in the description section of this video. Or if you're watching this on mobile, tap the small triangle on the lower right-hand side of this video and click the link in the description.